Now call Deputy Gerald Nash.
I'm glad to have this opportunity to wholeheartedly welcome the forthcoming referendum to enshrine the rights of children in our constitution. I think, as many speakers have already said, we've already waited too long for this day, and Minister, you are to be wholeheartedly congratulated for taking the bit between your teeth and delivering this proposed article so soon into our term of government, or the wording at least. I'm aware that some people have questioned the need for this referendum, claiming that children's rights are adequately catered for. To them, I would simply say, read our history. I'm sure nobody in this House needs reminding of the appalling sagas we have heard of child abuse throughout our country, an abuse which the state responded to at best with incompetence and at worst with systemic cold-hearted indifference. To those who would claim but these days are in the past, I say talk to our social workers of today, talk to our teachers, our healthcare officials, talk to ordinary, decent families and parents right across the country. We all know of cases where children are vulnerable and in trouble, and at present our laws do not adequately allow us to protect children as they are entitled to be protected, in my opinion. The state will now be enabled, if this referendum is passed, to intervene in all cases where child safety and welfare are seriously at risk. This does not and will not ever constitute interference in the lives of ordinary families. Intervention should and will only take place in exceptional cases when there has been a clear and consistent failure of duty by the child's natural parents. Indeed, had the rights of children been properly recognised in the Constitution in the first place, we would not have witnessed the dreadful crimes of the 40s, 50s and 60s, which were recounted here over the last few days, when children were effectively snatched from their parents on the most spurious of grounds, and most often from single parents and from families struggling with grinding poverty. These children were then effectively, as we know, cash cows for religious organisations in many cases, who are paid in fact by the state for their keep. And we know that much of that money was never in fact spent on the children, a scandal that to this day largely goes unaddressed and unresolved. Of course, a referendum on the legislation alone won't protect our children. Our actions as a nation must speak louder than dry ink on paper. There must be no more horror stories of state indifference or neglect. I believe the excuse given for past failings that, in quote, we didn't know, is a pretty feeble one and usually falls apart under the slightest of examinations. Today we do know, Las Cancorla. We are all aware of the threats facing children. We are all aware what must be done to protect them. Future generations won't forgive us if we get it wrong this time and repeat the sins of the past. Now, nearly 100 years later, I think we should deliver on the words most likely inserted by James Connolly into the 1916 proclamation that we should cherish all the children of the nation equally.